Hi, everybody. While journaling isn't the focus of my channel, journaling happens to be something I'm very passionate about. I've been passionate about journaling for many, many years. And as of October last year, I started keeping a reading journal. And this has profoundly changed my reading life. So I want to go ahead and share some of the benefits with you and the very simple method I've been using. One of the benefits I've noticed is that by taking the time to handwrite thoughts on paper, I believe this can invite you to slow down and consider details you might otherwise dismiss in what you're reading about. It can help you engage with the book, engage with what you think the author is intending, your response to those things, any ideas or feelings that arise when you're reading. I am not the most analytical reader when I'm reading a book. So when I'm reading a book, I might notice certain details, but it's only later when I reflect on those things that I start to draw inferences, that I start to solidify more meaning out of what I'm reading. And so I think that keeping a reading journal is a wonderful way to engage with the book. And yes, there are other ways of engaging with a book, which I'll talk about. So one way is through annotation, through tabbing pages, through underlining sentences, through writing light notes in the margins. I do that on occasion, but I still think there's a benefit to a reading journal because it's a blank sheet of paper where you can freely write your thoughts, where you can freely process what's coming up for you. And you can also do this through Discord. Yes, you can engage with others on Discord in a buddy read or read along, but I like the fact that a reading journal is private. It's just for you. No one else is going to read your reading journal. So you can freely process your thoughts without worrying about other people weighing in, without having to be sensitive to other people's feelings. So I like that as well. And I also like the convenience of being able to pick up a reading journal off my shelf to reference my thoughts on a book because I don't think I'm very likely to look up or search out my thoughts on Discord for what I thought about a book 3 years ago. So I like the convenience factor of having the reading journal to refer to. But even if you never go back and reread what you wrote in your reading journal, again, taking the time to write out your thoughts by hand can make it far more likely that you'll remember those details. You'll remember those things. And this goes without saying, but if you're somebody who does reviews, either on camera or written reviews, keeping a reading journal is a wonderful way to focus on the pertinent details in a story to help you organize those thoughts for those future reviews. So I see multiple benefits. But for me, the reason I love keeping a reading journal the most is that I feel like I get something out of what I read every single day. Even if I only read a few pages in a day, if I write some thoughts, even just a few brief thoughts about what I read, I feel like I got something out of those few pages. So I love it for that reason. So, those are just some thoughts, some benefits that I've come across. And now for my reading journal method. So, for this particular journal method, I recommend any type of notebook that works for you. It could be a wire bound notebook, like a school notebook. It could be a blank notebook, a dot grid journal, or a grid journal. It really doesn't matter. So, this is just a notebook that I've been using lately. And I'm just going to flip to a blank page and show you how I do this. So, I usually start off again with the blank page. This actually works really well with line paper as well. I draw a margin. Again, you can get paper that already has a margin, but I draw a margin and you can either hand draw the margin or you can use a ruler or something. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Probably not perfectly. And then at the top of the page, I'm going to go ahead and write out the date and I'm going to write the book that I'm reading, the title of the book I'm reading, and maybe what page number I read to that day. From here, I'm just going to freely write specific things that come to mind in the passages I read that day. These could be anything that you found significant or interesting. And I recommend not writing about everything you read that day or every exciting detail. Just pick a couple of things. I also recommend if you're someone who wants to make this a daily habit and you're concerned that this might take a lot of time, you can give yourself a time minimum. I usually do about 5 minutes a day minimum for writing in this kind of format. Sometimes I just write one page in the journal, and that's it. So do whatever works for you. You could write more if you want to, of course, but just do what's sustainable for you and what's going to be interesting for you. So just write out again those specific things that you found interesting and why. And you could also add maybe your general feelings or thoughts about those particular parts. Then, once you're finished writing those things out, you're going to go back and review what you wrote. And in the margin area, you're going to write out any emergent themes that you're noticing come out in what you wrote about, or aspects of narrative, such as pacing, tone, plot. Maybe it's a reveal or something along those lines. And then maybe you can write about emotions that those passages evoked. It's really up to you, but I like those key words to come out here in the margin. And I usually don't write very many. It could even be like 3 to 4 words in the margin. And then the nice thing about this method is that once you finish the book, you might not want to go back and reread all of the passages you wrote as you were journaling throughout your reading experience. You may or may not want to. In my case, I noticed I was not inspired to read everything I wrote, but doing this method inspired me to go back and look at the margins and see if there were any key words that came up for me over and over again in the reading experience. And for me, doing that is very helpful in understanding what I read in a deeper way or putting things together. Okay, I know you probably want a good example of this, and so I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of this that I did. And please keep in mind, I never had any intention of sharing this particular passage on camera. I'm just going to go ahead and share this though. So, this is when I was rereading The Last Unicorn by Beagle. I was listening to the audiobook, and this is towards the beginning of the book. So, I don't think I'm giving anything away spoiler wise, but I just basically wrote about how I'm listening to The Last Unicorn on audio and loving the prose and noticing some interesting plays on words and an interesting passage about choice. I also noticed that there was something very deeply melancholy and sad about a beardless wizard who has no magic, a slightly older woman who has lost her youth, journeying with a lone unicorn. So after I finished writing all that out, I went back in the margin area and I highlighted the word choice that came out. And I thought there was a bit of a paradox there. And I also wrote age, loss, loneliness, fragmented hope. Those were just key words that came to mind based on what I wrote. So that's just an example for you. It's not perfect, but here it is. And that is it. That is the very simple reading journal format that I've been using. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This could be seen as a version of marginalia, keeping notes in the margins, a system of doing that, but I love applying it to the reading journal format I showed. Let me know if you're interested in more journaling videos, if this is a topic that interests you, if you keep a reading journal, or if you would be interested in trying this approach I showed. Let me know. Thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.